Hey guys, Poro here with another video, this time bringing you some new dark technology to try out on the Rift. No fancy intro this time, I'm just excited to share this idea and see what you all think, so let's get into it. This strategy can be used on a fair amount of top laners, but today I'll mostly be referencing Kayn top. To start, you'll be foregoing your usual summoner spells in favor of taking Smite into lane. By taking Smite, you now have access to buying the Smite specific jungle pets. Now, this probably just opened up a whole lot of questions. Why would you buy jungle pet in lane? Are you griefing your jungler? Are you invading early? What about the minion XP debuff? What about the Monster Hunter gold reduction passive? What about the missing summoner in lane? Allow me to answer these questions for you. You're not actually going to buy the jungle pet in lane. You're just going to sit on the raw smite. See, this is where the minion XP debuff and Monster Hunter passives come in. For those who don't know, jungle pets give junglers reduced experience from lane minions, and it's a pretty big number starting at a whopping 70%. This is intended to keep junglers from leeching too much lane XP in the same way that laners get reduced camp XP. Monster Hunter is another additional passive to dissuade junglers from taking minions, and this one keeps track of how much of your gold comes from camps versus minions. If your minion gold is greater than 40% of the total gold you've gotten from camps, you receive a debuff on minion kills where each minion grants 13 less gold and 50% less experience. What this means is that jungle pet in lane is really bad, therefore you don't buy it. That naturally also means nothing really changes about your early game plan. You still lane normally. No invades, no taking ally camps, nothing. Let's talk about Smite. Obviously, it's not a combat summoner. At least, not without the pet it isn't. Base Smite deals 600 damage to minions and monsters, and that's it. When you take Smite, you're effectively losing out on a combat spell in lane. No more Flash Ignite or Ghost Teleport, you gotta pick just one and deal with the addition of Smite in the second slot. Because of this, lane matchups will naturally be more difficult. A matchup that was once even is now skewed in the enemy's favor. Take the Darius-Udyr matchup for example. Darius wins with default summoners, but Udyr can actually equalize the lane by taking Ignite Ghost and matching the double combat summoners. Therefore, Udyr shouldn't take Smite into Darius, because it turns an even matchup into a losing one. So when do you take Smite then? Well, I take it in one of two scenarios. One, the enemy can't punish me for being down a summoner. This happens when the lane is either a true handshake, or when your champion already wins so hard that being down a summoner doesn't mean anything. Using Darius again, imagine instead of an Udyr, he's into a Scion. Darius can bully a Scion without any summoner spells, so taking Smite doesn't change the base lane dynamic. The second scenario is if you lose no matter what anyway. This is why I like to do this on Kayn. Kayn's matchups with my first strike late game rune setup loses lane outright to pretty much everything. No point in me taking combat summoners, they won't change the lane dynamic for me. Instead, I'll just take Smite. In fact, if anything, Smite helps me equalize the lane better than before. Smite may not do anything to champions, but it's great for wave management. It gives me a long-range farming tool when I'm zoned off, and more importantly, it gives me the ability to instantly shove cannon waves. One of the big changes that enemies will have to adapt to is that they can no longer just autopilot their reset on the cannon wave, since I can just smite it and shove at normal speed. You would be surprised at how often I get to cheese enemies by shoving cannon wave on their reset. Smite is also fantastic for proxies. One of the biggest problems champions can run into when proxying is how to deal with their health and mana. Minions can do a lot of damage over time, and they can take many spellcasts to actually kill. The worst of these is the cannon waves. However, Smite can deal the same damage to a cannon minion that multiple abilities and auto attacks would have taken you, so it essentially turns all cannon waves into basic default minion waves instead, saving you plenty of mana and health. For Kayn specifically, this really helps out the level 1 proxy. Before, you would get level 3 after killing 2 minions from the cannon wave. Before that though, you would have to kite the minions around awkwardly to make sure you're not executing. This is fairly simple if you've practiced a lot, but many people new to the Kayn proxy might struggle. Once you hit level 3, you have to level E immediately and use it for sustain without letting the rest of the wave run past. With Smite, all of this struggling is unneeded. Just smite the cannon and your WQ instantly kills it, granting level 3 before any significant damage is taken. Smite can also be useful in gaining level 2 advantage should you be stuck in lane. After handshaking the first wave, you can smite a melee minion as soon as it's in range to get level 2 on the spot before your opponent can react to it. This is great on Kayn as well, since base Kayn is strongest at level 1, but has few ways to contest priority after that. Getting level 2 advantage can be what Kayn needs to build up a reasonable slow push that leads into a future proxy. So great. I've now gone over how Smite mostly makes your lane harder, and how it can be used in one or two gimmick ways to kind of survive lane a bit better. And the only upside I've given is that you get access to jungle pet. What's the point? Well, I actually wasn't completely truthful earlier when I was explaining the interactions between jungle camps and laners. I said that in the same way junglers get reduced minion XP to keep them away from minions, laners get reduced camp XP to keep them away from camps. The reality is that laners don't get reduced XP at all. They get the base camp XP when they take camps. What actually happens is that junglers gain bonus XP from camps. Every large monster grants an additional 80 XP, with the first camp giving an enhanced boost of 150 XP on top of the base 80 you already get. The key to unlocking this huge amount of XP? You guessed it, Jungle Pet. There was also something else I omitted when talking about camp and minion interactions. I said that when you buy the pet, you get reduced minion XP and eventually reduced gold. What I left out is that this penalty decays over the course of the game. At 20 minutes, this penalty is reduced to a whopping 0%. That's right, after 20 minutes, you have no Monster Hunter gold penalty and no minion XP reduction. What you're left with is equal lane XP and gold, and enhanced camp damage and experience to a massive degree. 80 experience is no joke, that's just under what a siege minion gets you. The game plan is this. You take Smite and play to minimize losses as much as possible. You're down to combat summoners, but you have access to a wave management tool that you can use to stabilize the lane. The goal is to play to even out experience or fall just slightly behind. At around 19 minutes, you'll reset and buy the jungle pet. Take the first available camp while making sure it doesn't grief your jungler's pathing, and enemy camp as best if possible, and collect your instant 230 bonus experience plus whatever the base camp gives. For the rest of the game, feel free to snag any camps your jungler skips over, or any camps the enemy jungler has up. Don't forget to still play mostly for minion waves though. Do that and your level lead will start skyrocketing. This massive experience lead is how you win side lane and therefore win the game. At this point, you also just have a second jungler for objectives. Your Smite won't be at 1200 or anything, but Jungle Pet has a lot of additional bonuses against epic monsters, such as increased damage and sustain. The side lane pressure is insane because of your level, and the objective pressure is insane due to the doubled up Jungle Pets. But now it's been about 10 minutes or so and we're at the 30-minute mark. You're level 18, everyone else is way behind. However, there's a problem. You have 4 completed items and can't buy a 5th because your Jungle Pet isn't finished yet. What's the solution? Simple, sell the pet. If you can afford a full item, just sell the pet. But what about all those objective bonuses you just mentioned? You don't get them if you don't have the pet, so what was the point? Actually, the pet saves your stacks. If you sell pet with 11 stacks to go, when you buy it again later, it will still have 11 stacks. Then obviously it's gone for good when you finish it, granting you the buffs permanently. The key is the timing in which you swap back and forth between the pet and the 5th item. Objective fight coming up? Buy item. Downtime where nothing is happening? Swap back to the pet because you don't need the 5th item anyway. And then you complete the pet, and let me tell you, the completed pets are broken. I personally think Gustwalker Hatchling is an insane buff to any champion, and this buff plus the combat smite is more than enough to outdo anything like a petty ignite or flash. Essentially, you've created a monster. You're the highest level in the game, and your setup contains the ultimate late game bonus of an extra buff on top of your full build. Should you get here, you're quite literally just playing the evolution of whatever champion you locked in. Side lane is a breeze with the experience lead, and objectives are no longer a problem, since you can cover for your inting jungler who is always late and never wins smites. I like to think of lane smite as inverse ignite. Taking ignite gives you early kill pressure, but it's at the cost of a spell like teleport or ghost that scales way harder later. You buffed your early game and nerfed your late game. Smite is the opposite. You sack a bit of early kill pressure and trading power, but it's at the benefit of a superior late game due to enhanced experience and additional buffs. Again, I have to mention that this isn't something you always do. I'm not saying lane smite is broken or meta. What I'm saying is that it's an option to consider. Are you playing Yasuo into Smolder top? Free matchup, you'll win without ignite. Might as well take smite since it'll make you stronger later. Red smite slow and damage outscales ignite anyway once you get to it. Are you playing Kayn into Aatrox? Well, you weren't going to win any fight ever even if you took Conquer and Ignite, so what's the downside to Smite? All it does is make your wave clear better for resets and proxies. How about Jax versus Renekton? Neither person should take Smite here. Whoever takes Smite actually just loses outright because this is usually a 50-50 matchup. The key is to think about how Smite changes the dynamic of the lane. It's definitely not always good, so don't autopilot to it. Just keep it in the back of your head as an option. Before you go out and try this for yourself though, I do have one massive warning for you. Do not buy the jungle pet by accident at the beginning of the game. It's pretty easy to accidentally buy it since taking Smite puts the jungle pets at the forefront of the recommended starting items. I can't stress this enough, do not buy the jungle pet by accident. But if you do, no big deal, right? You can just undo it and get back to starting items. Or if you accidentally ran out of base, you can always sell it on the first pack and get the items you intended. Nope, wrong. Turns out there's actually a big fat game-losing bug surrounding the jungle pet item. Hold on, let's do the funny. See, he's level 2. Yeah, me too, buddy. Oh wait, what the fuck? Oh my god, no way, I just got hit with the fucking bug. Okay, yeah, there's a bug in the game where if you buy the jungle pet and then sell it before 20 minutes, then you get slapped with all of the jungle pet debuffs for zero reason. So what ends up happening, okay, this is gonna be really funny. I might get permit for this, but it's gonna be really funny. I'm gonna be like level 8 at the end of the game. Should you so much as accidentally breathe on it, or mayhaps perchance give it the side eye for a millisecond, you permanently get all the debuffs slapped onto you, and they don't decay at 20 minutes, they just stay there. Ever wanted to be level 7 at 20 minutes? Well, now you can. Most farm in the game with lower level than supports works for me. After my Smite top games totaling around 50 or so, I've made the mistake of AFK buying pet at the start of the game 4 times. If you do take it by accident though, this is what you should do. Just keep the pet and play to be a thorn in the side of the enemy jungler. Take as many of his camps as possible with the intent to minimize his gold income, and then pray that setting their jungler behind is good enough for your bot side to carry. If you do manage to make it to 20 minutes, the debuffs will disappear and you can play like normal. Specifically only on Smite Kane top I mute all in my off-stream games. Everything else I leave chat on. Oh my god, I fucking did the thing. Fuck. It's fine, we can bullshit our way out of this. You're watching me try to figure out how to win the game after I bugged myself by accident. I mean, again, it's the same thing. We only need to last 20 minutes, and then we can play. So, Udir's wolves are up. Oh, he's invading. Oh my god, this Udir must be so sad. Hi, Udir. Don't mind me. Nah, he just smited the cannon. What the fuck? That Udir is so tilted.
Dominating.
Alright. Well, we won despite the bug. Let's go. That's all I've got for you. I have a Twitch and a Discord server, links to both of those will be in the description. I plan on streaming Smite top gameplay on Kane in the future, so stop by if you want to catch it live or see the VODs. I also have a Ko-fi page and any tips are highly appreciated. Thanks for watching. Bye.